I'm Aaron Maté, sitting in for Jimmy, here with Misha Pollan and Americans comedian Kurt Metzger. And here's the picture. Joe Biden making a surprise trip to Kiev. There he is meeting with Zelensky. And here's some dramatic footage of them walking through the streets of Kiev as an air siren goes off.
Where's the fire?
So what are the odds that right when the president of the U.S. and the president of Ukraine are doing this photo op, walking down the street, that an air siren goes off in the capital? Does that mean that Russia
Wait, that's what that's supposed to be?
That's
I thought
an air
they were
siren.
saluting him with the air siren.
No, that's an air siren saying, oh, look, we're under threat. But check out what CNN pointed out right after that.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kiev, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
Oh, the president shit his pants.
What are the odds? What are the odds that for 5 days there's no air sirens, and right when President Biden walks out for a photo op with Zelensky, all of a sudden the air siren goes off?
Yeah, he bombed his pants in Kiev, and they had to warning everyone.
Well, here's what actually happened. There's no way Russia was bombing or even threatening to bomb Kiev then, because this was quietly disclosed. Here's the Associated Press. The White House took the step of notifying Russia of Biden's visit in order to prevent setting off a potential nuclear war. So right before Biden visited Kiev, the U.S. told Russia that this was happening because they wanted to avoid the possibility that Russia would bomb the capital right when Russia would bomb the capital right when Biden was there, and that would set off a nuclear war. So Russia was warned about this, which makes this air siren all the more ridiculous because Russia knew exactly that Biden would be there.
Well, also them walking calmly down the cobblestone like it's no big deal. Like, I already didn't believe in Zelensky's bravery, but I'm going to watch this doddering idiot next to him, and they're like, "Ooh," with a air. That's not how you react to an air raid siren.
So here's how. Here's the Washington Post, and here's the headline: Cloak and dagger moves allow Biden to sneak into Ukraine's war zone. And they acknowledge this. They say, as President Biden stepped out of a Golden Dome church during his unannounced high-stakes trip to Kiev, a city under regular bombardment from Russian forces, an air raid siren abruptly went off, signaling that a Russian military jet armed with missiles had taken off from its home territory. The plane ultimately did not pose a threat to Biden's location. U.S. officials had tried to reduce the risks by taking the extraordinary step of informing Moscow of Biden's planned visit ahead of time. So in short, this was done for a photo op. That's why the air raid siren was going off.
So Biden snuck in through the Zelensky door, the tiny Zelensky door.
Here's another headline. U.S. alerted Russia of Biden's surprise trip to Ukraine hours before he arrived, U.S. officials say. The more from The Guardian. U.S. informed Russia of Joe Biden's Kiev visit hours before
So Russia
departure.
sent a jet anyway?
No, Russia didn't say anything.
They pulled out of the treaty and they sent a jet. My God. And you want to placate them with peace.
But here's the thing. Not every member of the establishment media was willing to acknowledge what The Guardian and ABC News
Because they're not traitors.
The Washington Post were, okay? They preferred to pretend that Biden had made this daring, risky mission to Kiev in the middle of a war zone, risking
on a bike,
risking being blown away by Russia, I guess. So this is Herbie Ziskin. He is the White House Deputy Communications Director.
Oh God!
And this is an article he tweeted out from the New York Times, and he quotes it. He says, "The president's covert trip was an audacious move meant to demonstrate American resolve to help Ukraine defeat the Russian forces." And that's an article in the New York Times. He's tweeting out. He's very happy with this article.
Nutty professor guy from The Simpsons. It was an audacious movement, even.
So here's what I pointed out about this New York Times article. In this fawning article on Biden's, quote, audacious, risky, show of defiance to Moscow trip to Kiev, the New York Times' Peter Baker and Michael Shear failed to inform their audience that the U.S. informed Moscow beforehand to ensure his safety. No wonder a White House PR official is tweeting this out.
Yeah, but okay, Aaron, Biden was walking on cobblestone. Not having his hand held. It was audacious. It was risky. It was what Ukraine needed.
So this is Tom Elliott on Twitter. Tom S. Elliott is his handle. He tweeted out just a bunch of clips of cable news pundits who also apparently didn't get the memo that the U.S. told Russia in advance that Biden was going to Kiev. So watch how they fall over themselves to praise Biden for being this brave wartime leader, daring to go into a war zone to send a message to Moscow.
Chris, I think it's historic. It's like when JFK went to Berlin. And
this is officially the dumbest shit I've heard since the Chinese spy balloon. Mark this day.
1963, when Ronald Reagan went to West Berlin in 1987 and said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. It sent a powerful message.
Mr. Zelensky, turn off this alarm. It's really annoying, and I'm tired and I want to sit down.
Message to Moscow that we are there to stay. A powerful message to our European NATO allies that we're there, that an American president went into a war zone without American troops on the ground.
He went into a war zone.
Oh, God, he's the Zelensky of America. Oh, put a tight green, a medium green T-shirt on him. They're both all jacked up on speed.
It's true, they're probably on the same drugs.
Not since Hakeem Jeffries rapped at the have I ever been so moved.
I think it's powerful, and
it's as powerful as James Corden enjoying ice cream with Nancy Pelosi that time.
Stay the course. It's not just symbolism; it's actions. And when he's going to Poland, he's supporting a NATO ally that hosts more Ukrainian refugees than any other country, several million. And the Poles have been incredibly generous, and I think the American people need to be generous back.
So, Mike, I was reading an article written before
Fuck East Palestine, Ohio.
Wait, Kurt, maybe do that joke again because there was some sound over it.
Okay. Oh, do it.
Yeah. No, I want a clean version. That's all.
It sends an important message. Fuck East Palestine, Ohio.
All right. So here is the former Senator Claire McCaskill. Okay,
Chris,
she's going to straight up fabricate the circumstances around Trump's visit to Ukraine. It's not enough to just ignore the fact.
Wait, Trump or Biden?
Sorry, Biden's. Thank you. She's going to fabricate the circumstances around Biden's visit to Ukraine. Because
it's embarrassing.
It's not enough to ignore the fact that the U.S. informed Russia beforehand. She's going to make it sound even more daring. She's going to just straight up lie.
It is daring. They dared them to do something about it.
She's going to just basically falsify how Biden came into Ukraine.
Okay.
The president has some wind at his back. I'm not sure that it was all
Then why didn't he fall over?
planned, but it has certainly all been well executed. His back and forth with the nuttiest of the nutty Republicans at the State of the Union, pulling off this trip and these images of defenders of democracy from two very different generations walking shoulder to shoulder in Kiev. What do you make of this moment in the Biden presidency?
They love to say Kiev the way Western Ukrainians say Kiev.
What do you make of this moment? Because we're certainly making a lot of it.
Let's see.
Well, it's very important because in the back of everyone's mind, there's always a contrast. There's always a comparison. And this kind of dovetails with what you talked about earlier, that when the president runs for re-election, it is not a referendum on him. It is a choice. And if you compare and contrast Donald Trump was afraid to go to Afghanistan. And Afghanistan.
Donald Trump was afraid to stay upstairs during the Black Lives Matter protests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, very little courage. And, you know, having flown into war zones a number of times, both Iraq and Afghanistan, as a member of the Senate, was there moments that it was weird? Yes, but there was always a sense that you're surrounded by the United States military. You're enveloped by the United States military. When that Air Force One flew over the border into Ukraine, everybody knows it was just that airplane from the United States in that airspace.
What?
That's a lie. Biden did not fly into Ukraine. She's making that up.
Oh.
Here's what actually happened, okay?
But the imagery, Aaron, the powerful imagery of a creepy old man walking a fat young boy to a secluded area.
So keep in mind what she said. She just said that Biden made a daring flight into Ukrainian airspace where there's no U.S. military support, into a combat zone. How heroic. It's a lie. Biden did not fly into Ukraine. Here's where he flew. This is from the Washington Post. After a refueling stop at Ramstein Air Base in Germany, where the plane's shades were kept down during the hour and 15-minute stop, Biden finally landed at the airport in Poland. His motorcade drove about an hour to the Ukrainian border with the sirens off to avoid drawing attention. So Biden flew first to Germany, then he flew to Poland, and then finally, he drove from there to the Ukrainian border.
It was actually a 10-minute drive, but they had to make like several bathroom breaks.
Upon arriving at Poland's train station, Biden boarded a train that was under heavy security and had few onlookers. The 8-car train rumbled through the Polish and Ukrainian countryside for more than 10 hours. So Claire McCaskill just said on MSNBC that Biden was flying in to Ukrainian airspace, risking being shot down by Russia. In reality, he stopped in Germany, then he stopped in Poland, then he got in a car, drove to the border with Ukraine, and took a train. That's actually what happened.
Aaron, now Russia knows.
Here's more from MSNBC.
Night here, and so woke up this morning in London on my way to Warsaw and was as surprised as everyone. There had been a lot of rumors about the possibility that Biden would do a trip to the border on Wednesday, and that maybe Zelensky would come across and meet with him there. That was kind of the talk in Poland among a lot of people for some days leading up to this, and so the one thing that no one expected was this. And the first thing I saw when I
This is like I'm watching an E! Channel talk about a red carpet event.
Exactly. And
what were they wearing?
No one expected this except for Russia, who were told about it in advance.
Oh, that's right.
Woke up this morning when I got off the plane this morning was the pictures. And Claire is right. It's a telegram. And in this modern age, you can CC telegrams, as Claire suggested, but a telegram to Putin, but it's also unavoidably, it's a series of television images that go around the world, but also go back home. And my first thought was just that, someone like, this is obviously about diplomacy. It's about the fate of the Ukraine, about democracy, about a lot of things. But, someone like Mike Deaver from the Reagan administration, who was, the master image maker, the guy who put Ronald Reagan at Normandy, for wherever he is in the great beyond, was tipping his hat to the image makers who had those shots of Joe Biden with Zelensky in Kiev.
I disagree. I think it would have been more effective if Zelensky sat on his lap.
Salute to the image makers. And here's more from
God, they're so naked about what they're about. Yeah. It's so repulsive.
It's about PR.
This is a great PR marketing moment, and a PR and a brand, and I'm a brand. It's like that South Park wish we had the brand. Come hammer the brand school.
This is from Morning Joe.
How badly the war is going, and now Vladimir Putin has to put up with the image of Joe Biden walking around.
Flame is cancer.
Vladimir Putin has to put up with the image of Joe Biden walking with Zelensky, which he was told about in advance.
Wait until Putin sees this.
Streets of Kiev.
I can't tell you how emotionally and symbolic important that was to Ukrainians. I just was with all of the Ukrainians in Munich over the weekend at the security.
It literally is the kind of thing you vaguely hear while you're waiting for a flight in the airport.
Conference. And here, a year ago, everyone up and including Zelensky were doubting the American intelligence, which had been declassified. And you all, and David Ignatius in particular, who is so expert in this, knows how extraordinary that decision was to warn the world of what was happening. And it's played out exactly as America had warned, except that we completely overestimated Russia's capabilities and underestimated the resolve, resiliency, and the military skill of the Ukrainians. So it's been an extraordinary year. But the fact that this president was able to walk down the street of Ukraine, he didn't put his foot over. We all speculated he's going to Poland, where you were, and he'll cross the border and there'll be some kind of border meeting. But he went to the heart he went to the capital city.
I was going to say, we always, not just us in the media, but Even people in his own party, they always underestimate Joe Biden.
Wow.
I will say the one thing that Newt Gingrich has said over the years that I actually agree with was after the 2022 election, he said, hey, Republicans, we are underestimating him just like Democrats underestimated Ronald Reagan. And it always blew up in our face politically.
He had Alzheimer's too. Don't forget with senile Americans, we all thought he was going to take one of Zelensky's many gopher burrows under the border and up into the Ukrainian capital, but no.
Here's Hillary Clinton riding on a train to the front lines of the fight for democracy. Peak Biden.
Well, he's not sniffing anyone. How is that peak Biden?
At least she's acknowledging, though, that he rode on a train rather than Claire McCaskill lying about Biden flying in.
Rail Force One. Oh, my dear God.
Rail Force One.
Hey, Voldemort Zelensky. I can't sniff you, man. Too small. Come up here getting big. No date until you're 18, young man or lady.
Doing live stand-up comedy in Tempe, Palm Springs, Milwaukee, Nashville, Northampton, Massachusetts, Syracuse, Cohoes, New York, and Hartford, Connecticut. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and become a premium member. Get access to all our content.